as architecture for IoT program under Philips Services Innovation to Market Business Group. Previously, he worked in Alton, Nokia, being being in Philippines for more than 8 years, currently living in Bangalore. His hobbies are love to read science-related books and watch geopolitics-related channels in YouTube. It's our privilege to have you as chief guest, sir. Thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thanks a lot.
Sir. Mahesh, sir?
Yes.
Sir, can you proceed, sir?
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, thanks a lot for giving this opportunity for me to be here. And I always have to thank Sumati ma'am. Thanks for giving this opportunity at this time. And if I have to thank one person in my life, it's not just words of formality, just definitely your words bottom from my heart. There's no one other than Dr. Venkateshulu sir. Definitely, he was a well-wisher. He was my head of the department when I studied. Having said that, it is not just a words of formality, definitely from my bottom of heart. Thanks a lot, sir. So it's because of you what I am now. So we'll start at this point. Hope you can see my desktop. Let me know when you can see the full presentation. Is it visible for everyone?
Yes, sir. Sir, visible, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so what I understand from the larger audience today from Sumati ma'am is that the audience mostly primarily from the computer science background, right? CSE department. That's what my understanding. Primarily, from my understanding, during the days I studied, CSE primarily deals with the computing and algorithms. Right? So today, take a step back and see overall application as a whole. Right? So at last, what you write an algorithm or an application or whatever it is you're supposed to develop it and deploy. That's important. How that traditionally it was a decade ago, the architecture, the software architecture, and how it is now at this point after the cloud and after the vendors like Amazon or Google or Azure from Microsoft, all these people came into the picture. It came like platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, anything as a service. Right. Service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, anything as a service. Right. So after all this, the cloud environment came into the picture. How we are now currently developing industry standards at this point. So I'm working in a project called IoT for Services. Hope everybody knows about IoT, right? Internet of Things. So in the Internet of Things, basically there will be like a sensor, right? The sensors to detect the whatever the environment or what it is supposed to sense, and then after send the data, and that data will be used as the proactive monitoring, and eventually the proactive monitoring will becomes a predictive analysis. When it comes to the predictive analysis, that's when we use this artificial intelligence or the ML, machine learning. So at this time, currently the program what I'm working is primarily into the proactive monitoring. Right? So this is all into the medical devices, name anything in the medical domain, the devices like starting from ultrasound to the MR to CT scan to nuclear medicines, all these things, and take anything the Philips is manufacturing it, right? For all those things, what we require is basically that something to sense it and find it out the problem well before it occurs, and then rectify it without note to the customer. The problem is solved. That's the whole point. Right. So, for example, let's consider MR device costed around some 5 to 10 crores. Minimum charge, the minimum cost of the MR system is actually 5 crore. So that's why you can't see many of the MR systems in your local hospitals, right? So it's kind of a costly considering the Indian environments. So in that case, well before the problem occurred, right? So we have to identify it and rectify it well before known to the customer that the system is down for some reason, and my revenue loss because my system is down for last 2 days, right? So I don't know how many of you reach this, MRI scanning. I wish you should not, because it is a pathetic time zone. That's when you go to. But just for an argument's sake, just take it up. When you go for an MR system, MRI scanning, it takes almost 20 minutes for a scan. Right? They charges you around 8,000 to 10,000 rupees, depends on the hospital to hospital. Maybe the charges are much higher, depends on the reputation of the hospitals or anything. Let's consider 2 days your system is down. What is the revenue loss of the hospital? Ideally, you see these hospitals are smart enough. They don't allow your inpatients to scan in the mornings. Have you ever noticed this in any of your cases when you when you're in the hospitals? They only allow the outpatients to be scanned during the day. Inpatients or anyhow they are within their premises, they can scan at any time. Always they drag the stretcher in the midnights and then take them to the MRI scans and then take it up. The reason because each and every minute for MRI is such important. Right? So in that case, how we will design an application in such a way that it is failure proof and designed for failure. That's more important. When something goes wrong, you should be you should be equipped enough to restart it immediately or resilient immediately, that without known to the customers or less impact to the customers. So that's when these microservices architecture is coming into picture. Since I was into the medical background or whatever you call it as the healthcare industry, I just give this example. But anything that you take, for example, take from Amazon to any of those vendors, whatever they're providing. Did you ever notice Amazon.in is down for some time? Never ever. It will not happen at all. How it is possible? How they make sure that how a software can be so robust enough that even down for a minute or not even a second? Or is it happening? Actually, yes, it's happening. No one can write such a robust software that nothing goes wrong. It's a human world, right? Obviously, the mistakes are part and parcels of the life. But how will you hide the mistakes and present it into the customer such a way that you don't make the customer experience the failure? That's important. That's a presentation, isn't it? So that's what we are going to talk about. How we are going to develop a software or an applications. I would say applications. And then the double quotes, I'm putting a plural here. Such a robust enough, even there is a failure, and you're going to recover it or make it resilient enough to come back to the normal state. With that introduction mode, let's go in. One, if you don't see it, there will be some latency. Just wait for it. What is a microservices architecture? Definitely, we should understand what it was our traditional or conventional software, how our conventional software was. It's monolithic. I don't know. Your ages are probably between not the lecturers or professors in this case, but I'm talking about the students. You're between 20 and or 17 and 22 maximum, right? So if you ask your brothers or senior brothers or whoever it is who born in the mid 85s and 90s, they definitely know the cartoon character called Blob, right? This cartoon character, what it happens is whatever comes on its way, it swallows and becomes itself, right? And becomes bigger, and as such, as big the object it swallows, it becomes that bigger. This is what our traditional, primarily you do is basically your executable, what you are going to execute it, that one. The solutions is put together into one per application. So, but what was the drawn? Why? Sorry, what was the pros? Went ahead. See, if we're all wise after the event happened, right? That is a wise decision, isn't it? So why we went ahead with that? Because those generations, a decade old or something, right? It's simple for us to develop, it's simple for us to deploy. Before taking any step ahead, I would say that here I not only talk about the development, but also talk about the deployment here. Right? What is so important in the industry is not just developing it, how you deploy, host your software in a particular laptop or in your server, cloud, or wherever it is, doesn't matter, but how you are going to do that. The packaging and going to install, that matters a lot. So these two things definitely we will be touching upon, development as well as deployment, just to give a heads up.